Okay, new laptop, new camera. Hopefully this is working, and hopefully it'll work better. All right, so 2.8 is a very simple one. It's a reminder of the stuff we've done with shapes and drawing them in the air, and then adding a couple more details. And there's no new vocab with this chapter, so nothing really much to learn. The next one, 2.9, is going to have a bunch of vocab. One of the things you're going to notice about as we move forward into units 3, 4, and 5 are that there's going to be a lot less to discuss, new information coming across, and instead you're going to start to get a whole ton of vocabulary. Okay, so we've got over here. Same. We'll put all that in. And they say no new vocab. We're just going to expand on this a little bit. One of the big things that this is going to focus on is that signer's perspective that we've talked about. The idea that I am going to sign as if I'm looking at everything on a piece of paper, and you, the person watching, is going to have to flip it. So even when working with each other, if you're reading someone's sign, you're going to have to do the flipping. The other person is not. If you're signing, all you have to do is focus on what you want to sign, what you're seeing in front of you on the page. It becomes a lot easier. I don't like the way the book sets this up because it makes it an intellectual process that's hard to do. A really easy way of looking at it is directions. If I tell you I want you to go straight for a block, turn right, and then keep going another 3 blocks, turn left, you're going to follow what I said. Turn right, turn left, right? So the same thing happens inside. Something's on the right side versus the left side. So when I do this, you would write it on this side, right? So on my right side of the page is this. You write it on the right side of your page, even though what you're seeing is the left side of your signing space. It's a lot of weird things to flip around. And it's one of those things that just takes time. It just takes a little bit of getting used to, but I will recommend thinking about it in terms of, big shadow, but it's raining out, so it's pretty crappy. Anyway, so think about it in terms of direction. The right side for me is the left side for you until you sign it, and then it's on the right side. That feels like it made it more confusing. I make the reference to imagine I've got a map of the United States in front of me. For me, Florida is here because I'm looking at the country. Maine is here, Seattle is here, and California is right here. So Ohio would be just to the right. So what you want to do is your map is facing you, and Florida would be down here, right? And Maine, Seattle, Los Angeles, or San Diego. So picture it that way. It's like if I'm describing Florida, I drove down to Florida, then I drove up to New York, then I drove all the way over to Portland, Oregon, and then drove south to San Diego, right? And then I came back home. So you're going to want to picture that map in front of you. That's what we call signer's perspective. So it's a lot easier to look at it in terms of that. All right. So we've already talked about basic shapes and how you draw them. If they are symmetrical, if they're basically a mirror image down the center, then you can use both hands, right? Or it could be a triangle or whatever. If they're not symmetrical that way, where you can do the mirror image, then you're going to use the reference point. Boom. With your non-dominant hand. So whichever hand you don't finger spell with, or you don't usually write with, boom. You're going to pick a place on that shape that's a reference point. Sometimes you have, if it's going to be a weird shape, you may have to figure out what's the best reference point to draw. Right. So you might want to put up here. It may be up above. It may be in the middle. Because you don't want to be drawing, wrapping yourself around. That'll be more confusing. So you're going to want to pick a point that you can easily get to and from. Now, the asymmetrical is assuming that it's a shape that the beginning and the end are the same. The last thing we can look at are linear. And a circle is considered either asymmetrical, or if it's like a spiral, it would be the linear, because the two ends don't rejoin. So it could be like Charlie Brown's shirt. Okay. Or it could be a spiral. So symmetrical, draw with both hands because they're mirror image. Boom. Then asymmetrical, put a reference point and then draw the shape. Then the last one is linear. Put the reference point at the start of the shape and then draw the rest of the shape until it gets to the end. And I would say be prepared to hold it for just a second till the person goes, oh, okay, it ends there. Got it. Okay. Just helps. Kind of like when we fingerspell names or words. We want to pause at the end so they know, oh, that's the end. Got it. It lets the brain sort of backfill what they just put an end cap on it. So here's some examples. The spade picture, right? It's symmetrical. Boom. And then the star. Boom, 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 boom. Asymmetrical. I would recommend, if you look at that shape, that the best place is close to the top at like 1 o'clock where that little scoop starts, because then you can draw the little scoop and then draw the rest of the circle. I mean, if it was flipped the other way, you could do the circle this way. So either way, whatever makes the most sense to you, I would say try both. Drawing shapes in the air is something we don't do very often, just arbitrarily draw a shape in the air. So it takes some playing around to feel comfortable. And then the lines. The one that's shaped asymmetrically goes. There are other ways that you can draw some of these shapes that when you get a little bit more comfortable with signing and using your hands, that will become a lot more available to you. I don't think something can be more available to you, but will make a lot more sense later on. But for right now, we're just drawing with the index finger. Combination shapes. We talked a little bit about this before, where you draw the first shape. Usually whatever one sticks out the most, or whatever one's going to be the easiest to set down. For example, in that first one that looks sort of like Saturn, right? I would recommend doing the circle first, then boom, about halfway through, a line, right? So you want to make sure that you literally are going through the halfway point. You don't want to go circle, line, because someone's going to draw the line along the top. So you have to be able to picture that. If you're not good at picturing things in space, start working on it. Start imagining how to do that. I cannot draw to save my life, but it helps to be, like to draw it on the paper and put those lines in, kind of get used to that space and being consistent. It'll be important with vertical things as we draw, like where are the states. It will be important later when we switch to horizontal, where we're describing a room, and like over there at this restaurant, over there's a bar, over there is the salad bar, over here is where you pay, and over here is the kitchen. Okay, so we're going to want to be consistent and always, like, if we talk about this place, we're always going to point to the same place. So the same thing where we're drawing in the air. So we've got a symmetrical shape, boom, 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 boom. And then inside, in the center, shoo, shoo. Okay. You can draw infinity. And then in this section, shoo, shoo, shoo. In this, and then this section, my instinct is to go with both hands, but that's more confusing. So in this section, shoo, shoo, shoo. This section, shoo, shoo, shoo. The most important thing is it clear to the other person? If someone's drawing something for you, it's sometimes good to copy it back And while you're doing that, remember that whole signer's perspective. So if I did shoo, 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 so I'm going to shunk, shunk, you would look and go shunk, 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 right? So your straight up line is on your left hand, same as what mine was. Right? It just playing around with things like that, drawing familiar shapes so that you can see them. It may be weird if your webcam is reversing itself. If you raise your right hand and the same hand comes up on this side, it may throw you off. One thing to get used to is if you can change your webcam so that when you raise this hand comes up, right? So my right hand comes up, the person looking at me, their right hand comes up. If like, I'm not taking off my clothes, don't worry, I have a t-shirt underneath with lettering on it. So if you can read the lettering on your screen, then that's good. If the words are reversed or the picture is reversed, it means your video camera is reversing the image or flipping the image. So I will recommend flip it so that it's like you're looking at a different person. It's not like you're looking at a mirror image. It's going to be weird at first. A lot of people don't like it and they set it to mirror image so that this hand matches. But it will be better for your sign language if it doesn't flip it. So anyway, I need to plug this in because my laptop is starting to make loud fan noises because it is getting warm from recording video. Okay, we're actually almost done with this unit. Here comes the thing. Okay. So again, it's just signer's perspective. Remember, it's just like you would read words on a page. The other person is going to have to flip that book to read the words on the page. And a bunch of, here's an example of signer's perspective. She gives a visual explanation of shapes. Now, this was the homework from the book, and the worksheet is slightly different that I'm including on Blackboard for you to go through. What the book does here is she's going to assign a series of shapes, and then she's going to add something to the shape. So maybe if she draws the square and then puts a circle in the middle, for example. And the goal would be you take that piece of paper and you, where there's the square, and you draw the circle in the middle, for example. I'm going to attach in Blackboard a PDF of that worksheet. Here it is. That you can download, you can print yourself, or you can just do it yourself. Either way, whatever works for you, give a couple different avenues. There's another worksheet that's a digital one that's going to be up there. And what the worksheet was set up was it gave you two examples and asks which one did she do. You've got the sort of black shape for the original piece, like the square, and then a red shape of what she added. And it's asking you which one's the correct answer. A couple of different approaches to the same question. So by all means, flip through both of them just to make sure you feel comfortable and confident. And then I put in all of the videos. There's really not that much in this video. So 2.9 is going to be next, and that's going to be a lot more vocab, but I will include that on Blackboard as a review.